A lot of stuff going on with the SEC and regulations. So BlockFi CEO Zac Prince, he has said that he wants the SEC to weigh in on crypto lending. I would say be careful what you wish for there. But he makes the point that the lending industry will ultimately need word from the feds. He says we're not going to decide what box crypto lending belongs to based on what New Jersey does or what Texas does or what any other state does. It's going to come down to federal regulators like the SEC or the OCC creating a path for this type of activity to happen. So BlockFi has been under a lot of scrutiny in different states saying, they've got to shut down activity. And meanwhile, BlockFi has insisted that interest account service is not a security, and the states are claiming otherwise. So big battle is brewing there. I'm going to throw this to the group for your thoughts. I mean, ultimately, the SEC will have to make a decision. They're not that great with clarity around this. So what do you think the next steps need to be? Zac, I'm going to throw to you.
Yeah, it's kind of one of these, like, I couldn't figure out if this was an intuitive thing or a counterintuitive thing. Is this expected or unexpected for the CEO of a prominent crypto lending firm to ask for the SEC to come knocking, right? I mean, I think the idea is that there needs to be a national standard. We've yet to see a national standard. We're seeing conversations bubble up with Coinbase and their crypto lending product, which seeks to put the crypto exchange in competition with firms like BlockFi that have been doing this for a long time. So on the one hand, like, it really makes sense that a CEO such as this would seek clarity. But as you're right, I mean, he might regret asking for this down the road. Only time will tell. But in a sane world, I think there would be sort of a national framework in which these things could be evaluated evenly. I don't think we're necessarily going to get that anytime soon, but the fact that Zac Prince is on stage at a very prominent traditional finance conference saying, "Hey, come on, let's go. Oh, here, I'm an open book." I think that's it's notable, and it certainly stands out as interesting. Jen, very curious for your thoughts on it. I saw your hand up.
Yeah, you took the words right out of my head. I just wanted to say,
sorry.
yeah, no, that's all right. I think for the CEO of a company like this to seek clarity is very intuitive. We've seen what's happened with no clarity, right? The SEC can kind of do what they want. They can say what they want. They don't need to give any rhyme or reason as to why they're doing or saying what they're doing. And so if we can actually have something set in stone, then we can start to challenge those rules, or we can start to navigate them and move on. I just feel like with no clarity, we're kind of stuck in this weird limbo. And so yes, we need the clarity. I don't think that the SEC is going to give clarity. I think they very much like operating in this world where they can say and do what they want. So it'll be interesting to see what happens next, but I'll pass it off to you, David.
Yeah, I mean, you took the words right out of my mouth. So, I mean,
we're just all on the same wavelength.
Yeah, just in general business terms, I mean, if there is a regulator that has the power to crack down on you, you want everything on the table in terms of what they're able to do and what the limits are. And I mean, if you really boil it down, it's a question of rule of law versus some kind of improvised thing based on how Gary Gensler is feeling on any particular day. And you're seeing the impacts right now. I think we have a story about Coinbase's stock has taken a hit partly because of the regulatory uncertainty. So it has real business impacts. And at the same time, and this is my new thought, I think that the situation in Congress last month made really clear that crypto does have a powerful enough constituency that once we actually start getting clarity, there will be pressure to make it something that will work for the industry, and enough pressure that, we might not get exactly what we want, but there's at least, somebody there fighting for it. So Naomi.
Yeah.
Take it away.
I'll add to that, it's such a great point about needing clarity so that then once we have clarity, we can finally start to navigate these waters, or we can finally start to push back against laws. Eric Voorhees had a great tweet where he dives into this concept, and he says, the question shouldn't be, is the yield product a security? The question is, why can't a reputable company offer a useful service to customers who want it without getting sued by regulators in the goddamn United States of America? And I agree with that wholeheartedly, but the point point is that we have no clarity. We can't even push back on lending products being a security right now because the SEC hasn't even said that they are. They're not giving any clarity. And I know we're diving into Coinbase in a little bit, but even there's just no clarity being given. We really don't know what part of that they're considering a security and which part they're not. And it seems like they're starting to go after stable coins. It seems like they're starting to go after lending platforms, but they're just not being explicit in what exactly makes things a security. So very much looking forward to clarity there. But as I mentioned at the start, the clarity may not be what BlockFi is after. That clarity may be in the form of, we are the SEC, we make all of the rules, and this is now the rule, and you have to shut down everything you're doing. So David, I'll throw it to you.
Just one last note on the specifics of the regulatory question, or at least my understanding of them at this point. One of the reasons that people got so upset when the SEC moved on Coinbase is that, of course, banks offer interest accounts that are not considered securities on a routine basis. And that's because there is an exemption specifically in SEC rules for banks. And so my question is whether an entity like BlockFi or Coinbase would be able to somehow make themselves eligible for that same exemption by somehow becoming classified as banks in the same way that sort of fiat banks are currently. So that's something that I think has not been discussed too widely. There's a distinction between a bank and a crypto trader platform, but they're going to have to do some work to get that exemption.